Good afternoon, I'm Shane Masters with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Jamaica's COVID-19 active cases have surpassed the 10,000 mark. Data from the Health Ministry shows that the active cases now stands at 10,092. Meanwhile, 7 more people have died from the respiratory illness. The total number of COVID-19 related deaths now stands at 443. 2 of the cases are from St. Catherine, 2 from Kingston and St. Andrew, 1 from St. Thomas, 1 from St. James, and another from Westmoreland. Their ages range from 32 to 85 years. The Ministry of Health says 1 other death is being investigated. In the meantime, 332 new COVID-19 cases were recorded across the island yesterday from 1,479 samples. This represents a 22.4% positivity rate. Their ages range from 1 year to 93 years. This pushed the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases to 24,776. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded the largest number of cases with 126, followed by St. Catherine with 70 and St. James with 45. 270 persons remain in the hospital. 23 persons are critically ill. Politicians are no longer the first group of people who will receive the COVID-19 vaccine when it arrives in Jamaica. On Tuesday, when the Health Ministry unveiled its interim vaccine plan, government officials were in the number 1 spot and were slated to get the jabs at the same time as healthcare workers. However, in a media release last night, the Health Ministry said members of Parliament, the judiciary, parish councillors, senior civil servants, and senior technical officers would get shots after key groups of persons. More from Kimon Witter.
The groups now ahead of the 577 government officials are health personnel, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defence Force, as well as persons in the 60 and older age group. The Ministry of Health says vaccination of the priority groups will begin this month as soon as supplies arrive. It says as additional stocks arrive, vaccination of the 60 and older age group will continue, with the addition of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Department of Correctional Services, Jamaica Customs Agency, Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, school personnel and government workers who interface directly with the public.
5,000 plus perhaps may have been categorized in a way that gave an impression that it should have been broken out. It should have said parliamentarians, and then there are some frontline government workers, the workers at the tax offices or customs, to allow for that deal with the public in a significant way each day.
Yes.
And by extension are exposed, but also are important for the normal functioning of the government service and the society.
Yes.
Who we felt were important, even though they may not be the over 60s.
Right.
So I think the release was first and foremost to create clarity. And we were careful to demonstrate that government officials were not going to be the first to get the job. So it was structured in a way to make that very clear.
The ministry says only after these groups have been vaccinated will parliamentarians and other government officials get their shots. However, it says elderly government officials can receive the vaccine with the 60 and over group.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says Cabinet will consider suggestions from some undertakers who have been raising concern about the ban on funerals and burials. As part of measures to limit the spread of COVID-19, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the ban on Sunday, which will run from March 8 to 22. Speaking at yesterday morning's Standing Finance Committee, Mr. McKenzie says he met with the undertakers this week. However, he argues that the wrong signal was sent on Wednesday when over 200 people congregated for a wake in downtown Kingston.
Kind of scant, disregard for the process. And you cannot be encouraging when actions like those, because if a government bows to that kind of pressure, the government is going to lose its legitimacy. And the government cannot afford under these circumstances. So we will look at what has been put on the table and take it under consideration.
And make sure that
The police reported that they had to shut down the gathering of more than 200 people at the Tranquility Funeral Home. The current gathering limit is 10 people. The government has suggested that Jamaica's Ganja industry is now poised for growth, despite hurdles including banking challenges over the past few years. At Thursday's Standing Finance Committee meeting, Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Order Shaw indicated that the Cannabis Licensing Authority, CLA, has gone through major changes, including a new board. Mr. Shaw says the challenges associated with exporting Jamaican ganja is also being addressed.
One of the things that has been holding back the CLA is the absence of formally approved export regulations. That is now about to be completed. It has gone through all of the systems, including the AG's office. In fact, it's now at the Chief Parliamentary Council for final settlement. That is the actual export regulations.
For opposition spokesperson on industry Anthony Hilton, the CLA has been a disappointment as while the global demand for cannabis is high, Jamaica has failed to capitalize on it. Minister Shaw acknowledged the failure while promising progress.
There are markets as far as Israel that want our cannabis, okay? So the export regs are weeks away from approval. In the meantime, we are, in this budget, assigning extra money to the Cannabis Authority, Licensing Authority, for the acquisition of seed to sales track and trace system.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back. Continuing the news. A $180 million Jamaican shoreline protection work is set to begin in Onoto Bay, St. Mary. Previously, residents living along the shoreline were forced out of their homes due to the conditions. Codian Barrett reports.
Shoreline erosion, a major threat to beaches across the island, but residents of Onoto Bay who reside close to the shoreline received some good news. The long-anticipated work to control the erosion is finally about to begin. At the technical handover of the site, Program Coordinator at the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Sheila McDonald, explained the expected outcome.
This is supposed to assist in building the climate resilience of this coastline and thereby protect critical assets and the vulnerable communities that live along, that are situated along this coastline.
According to Member of Parliament for South East St. Mary Norman Dunn, coastal erosion has been a threat to many residents who have been facing challenges as a result of natural disasters.
If you are from the area, you will know the trials and tribulations that persons have suffered here over the years. I mean, persons have to be literally relocated from the area because of the constant erosion and climate change in particular. For hurricanes, I mean, we have been affected significantly with hurricanes. I mean, there was one in particular called Sandy that caused devastation unimaginable.
Residents say they are relieved that changes will be made.
People have to move out because they can't stay here. That was one of the last house on the seaside. Yeah, I get enough damage, and I'm just glad for see what's happening today.
Feel good, but not 100. And the reason for that, the long promises. And I understand things look like it's out for pitch off now. So let's watch and see. Turn on see no spoil no dance.
One member of the Onoto Bay Community Development and Environmental Benevolent Society said he went to meetings to highlight the issue of the coastal erosion. 1 year later, he received a call that the PIOJ had approved funds for the project.
And right away we arranged a meeting because we were running behind time in terms of the time to utilize the project, the money, you know. So we have a town hall meeting and everybody participate in the community. And there now we actually start out this proposal to the UN Climate Change Adaptation Fund.
But it wasn't until 4 years later that they finally got to launch the project because procurement took some time. Work is scheduled to begin in March and will last for 14 months.
In a TVJ News follow-up, the two police constables who successfully delivered a baby in the back of their service vehicle in January were presented with awards of excellence by the Custos of Manchester, Garfield Green. The constables, who are attached to the Mandeville Patrol Unit, responded to a distress call from a pregnant woman on January 9 after the vehicle in which she was traveling in broke down en route to the hospital. Constables Rolando Clark and Nick Roy Niche were on highway patrol when they received the call. Custos Green commended the constables at a virtual ceremony yesterday.
As Custos, I therefore consider it appropriate and timely to recognize you and to say thanks for your commitment and professionalism in serving the citizens within this parish. Your act will always be remembered, and who knows, you may even encourage a child to serve this country in a way similar as the way you are doing now.
I do hope that the public will not only see us police as persons who issue tickets or being abusers. Because many persons see us as that. But we are there to serve, protect, and to reassure.
I'm glad that I could have served and acted professionally, and persons could feel proud that a police officer is doing his job, and we are really here to serve them, and that's what I'm here to do, and I'll continue to do that. And I thank you all for your kind words, and I'll continue to serve, protect, and reassure.
Now, relatives of a missing woman are seeking the public's assistance to locate her. 71-year-old Dorothy Brown was last seen on February 21. She was wearing a white t-shirt and purple floral skirt, black slippers. Her hair was in the ponytail style. Now, Miss Brown was last seen in Spanish Town and is a resident of Glades. She's of dark complexion, about 6 feet 2 inches tall. Her weight is 215 pounds. Miss Brown is said to have a history of dementia. Anyone knowing her whereabouts is being asked to contact the Spanish Town Police Station or the nearest police station. In news overseas, pro-democracy demonstrators in Myanmar are not backing down despite escalating violence. They are continuing to face off with police days after dozens were killed by security forces. The United Nations says at least 5 children have been killed in the ongoing protests. More from the CNN.
Protesters bang pots and pans on the streets of Myeongsang in central Myanmar, unaware it's about to turn deadly. They duck and run for cover as security forces start firing. 22-year-old Zing Koko Zo is shot in the head. His brother carries him to a waiting ambulance, but it's too late. Reliving that moment, he tells me, "My brother was shot and fell down. Blood was coming from his mouth and his head. I dragged him away from there, and he died in my arms." His parents say he was the breadwinner of the family, working at the local market. They were all at the protest together, his mother says, but were separated when the shooting began. She says, "We are risking our lives to claim victory. We don't have any weapons, but they are fully armed. All we can do is protest. They're shooting us with live bullets. Please help us." Makeshift hospitals were set up for the injured, treating a steady flow of protesters with gunshot wounds.
And now we're seeing orders that police and military soldiers shoot people down in cold blood.
Security forces were caught on camera taking 3 charity workers from their ambulance in Yangon and beating them with guns and batons. The charity says the 3 are now in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
In sports, despite being dismissed for a first ball duck in the opening game against Sri Lanka, Jamaican Chris Gayle is expected to continue in the role of a number 3 batsman for the remainder of the series. The Windies will look to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the series when the 2 teams meet at the Coolidge Cricket Ground today at 5 p.m. But after being a part of Akila Dhananjaya's hat-trick in the first game, Pollard was asked if the opening batsman Chris Gayle will remain at number 3 in the lineup.
If you have a guy who can, change his game and maneuver different scenarios, and also clear the boundary at will. Thinking down the road, it can be an option. Yes, Hepma is not there, as well, so he's filling in. But having a guy like Christopher Gale with the most runs in T20 cricket going around the world, I don't think that's bad, for our team. We're not going to sit here and look at, just one game or one performance. We're going to give the guys every confidence each and every time. And I'm sure if he comes out in the next 2 games and he scores, runs consistently, it would have been a master stroke by us to take up the opportunity that what we have seen.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.